Welcome to Celtics Stuff Live on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider of audio and video coverage for your Boston Celtics going to the Eastern Conference Finals against number one seeded, the Miami Heat. And we have revenge on the minds from the bubble, baby, from the bubble. So let's talk about how we got through this series, because honestly, it felt like the fix was in from the beginning, John. And even at the beginning of Game 7, when they were absolutely not going to call a charge on Giannis right out of the gate, I thought the Celtics did a great job of kind of testing those waters. But there was going to be no early foul trouble for the league's super baby, the new superstar. So
the moment he got like a fifth foul or he was in foul trouble, it felt like he could do more harm. He could earn more fouls when he was in foul trouble. It was, I don't understand. He's a great player. Like I'm not.
And you're talking Game 6 when you say that with the 5 fouls, right? I'm talking.
But whatever. I'm talking everything. Like he he could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. The rules did not apply to him. It was, there's the ringer and these kind of, supposedly neutral sources that are trying to talk about how, I just don't even know what a foul is. And like,
hold on.
What it is.
Saying you don't know what a foul is doesn't mean it's not a foul.
Right. Well, and who's creating the contact? They're trying to have the conversation to say, well, there's inconsistency in how they're operating, or they're, it's not good. But instead of just saying you're letting one guy blow through the entire team, or, throw elbows left and right, and then call it on the other side, call it for what it is.
Right.
I realize people get criticized, say, oh, well, how can you criticize them? You're not a serious journalist or whatever. I think a serious journalist should say, hey, you know what? This is bogus.
The fix is in. Yeah.
As the title of our last show was, the Milwaukee screw job. That was exactly what happened. We got screwed on multiple occasions in this series.
Yeah.
And I don't miss
not one game though, throughout the series.
Throughout every game.
I actually don't even think this series is close if you call that accurately. But not because Giannis would have made the adjustment. The fact is he knew he could get away with it. But look what happened in towards the later parts of Game 7, when all of a sudden they weren't putting him on the line every time he went into some crazy move to get to the paint. All of a sudden he's missing shots. Remember that whole highlights, right as the game started to get away from them, officially, they did all these highlights about him at the rim. There was 4 different plays in a row, a spin move, this and that. Never mind how many times he got away with traveling. We focused all on the content.
1, 2, 3, 4.
There was a hop, skip, and a jump. He was playing hopscotch out there a couple of times. and they're like, yeah, hopscotch wins. Throw the stone into the paint. It's just come on. Just so ridiculous. So it is what it is, man. It's just
fix it. League,
just
fix it. Fix this. Honestly,
because we would have blown him out had they not put him on the line and bailed him out every time.
Right.
Or got him into foul trouble. It would have dismantled this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hit a couple of threes, but listen, he couldn't hold Grant Williams' jock from beyond the arc. Let's be real.
Grant Williams. I mean, it's looking at that box score from Game 7. I don't. That makes the Kelly Olynyk game look like nothing. But it's child's play in comparison.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I do.
Kelly Olynyk. I mean, it's 27 points for 27 points. But the idea that Grant Williams is the guy who's out there getting serious buckets like that, leading the team in scoring, it's unbelievable. There's really nothing like that. And to end to this point, let's remember how the game started. The game was exactly like his career. Couldn't make a goddamn shot to save his life.
First one. He hit the first one.
It's the first one, but then he goes ice cold.
Yeah, and we're like,
the Bucks
oh
were
no,
like,
we'll never
fine.
win this game because,
right.
Yep, 100%.
And the blue check marks were all over Twitter, even going up till halftime. They got to stop shooting. Don't they know this is Jason Tatum's game? Jason Tatum needs to take every shot. Like, blue check marks. Hey, guys, you don't know what the hell you're watching. Like, the idea that somehow you're going to be, oh, sure. Like, they've squeezed their bigs to the blocks. Like, they're basically they're running a zone where the zone is in the paint.
Yeah.
Like, they were going to give up that shot, and they had to make that shot. And Grant Williams, thank God he didn't go to Summer League last summer and instead stayed home, got
lost
skinny,
a bunch of weight,
and started hitting a hell of a lot of 3-pointers. That's the story right there. They're going to the conference finals because Grant Williams didn't go to Vegas.
Yep.
Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, even if you look at Peyton Pritchard, because they started to kind of like tighten it up a little bit, like they had to adjust. They needed one more player on that roster to be able to knock down that open three. And we also, you and I haven't talked about this. I think the TNT and ESPN announcers covered it plenty. But Derek White in this series earned his spot.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, he really got his feet under him. We'd been watching him all season. He got some criticism. He wasn't hitting threes, but there were some moments where, and this goes back to the whole perimeter play, right? We needed Grant Williams and the Bucks. It's the way they play, are going to dare you to shoot it from outside. So Grant Williams had to win it from outside, and then just in the process of giving Peyton Pritchard a whole bunch of love, but when they actually started to get any kind of like action inside, it was when they were in small lineups and Derek White was getting it all kicked off by trying to penetrate in there. And then you started seeing other guys being like, right, we can attack and get in the paint. That doesn't mean we have to finish in the paint. Just means we have to get in there to start spacing it out and creating it. And I thought Derek White showed the rest of the team, including like Jason Tatum, how to, because look at the way Jason started to probe in the paint after Derek White did it.
Yep.
Once Derek White did it, all of a sudden Jason started doing it a lot. And I thought that was a really important development. I think that might have been late in game 5. Was game 5 Derek White's better game?
He shot really well.
It was 5, right? Yeah,
he shot really well.
Like in the paint, coming out and attacking, and so it was game 5. It played out a little bit again in game 6, but I just thought the lessons learned overall were, kind of huge with that guy, and
so that's another one. Like there's litmus tests throughout this series. I feel like of situations where actually it was game 4. I looked it up. He had 11 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 block, a plus 18. He was the second highest plus minus guy on the team behind Al Horford. That was the one they came back and kind of seemingly had them kind of beat. Didn't work out so well in game 5. But look, I think
what a weird on the road series too. All the wins on the road.
Yeah.
A bunch of those comeback fourth quarter meltdowns. Each team had one. Like, it just a really bizarre kind of turn the way that all that played out. You would not have expected that many road games to have been won in a series with 2 teams like this.
But I think it shows how mentally tough both teams are. Milwaukee did give up in game 5. They stayed in it. They had reason to really shut down, and they didn't.
Yep.
Game 4, frankly, the Celtics kind of did the opposite. The Celtics took the last 4 minutes and just pedaled the metal. And And then game 6, when the Celtics could have said, oh, well, woe is me, they don't. And it really, you look at really game 6 and game 7, the Celtics trusted themselves, to play well. They trusted who they were and what they were. They'd get down early, but it never felt like they were out of reach of the game. Like they'd go down 10 in those first quarters sometimes. I think in game 6 and in game 7, they were down, maybe 6, 7, 8 points. They'd be down.
And they were doing some things that they've traditionally done, like give up the lead at the beginning of the game, blow a lead in the third quarter after getting up 20, and all of a sudden the Bucks are within 4.
Fall in love with the 3.
Fall in love with the 3 and stop moving the ball, not move the ball at all. Early threes. Like the whole thing that they do. And so many. And you know what, honestly, I didn't even really enjoy the last 2 games. And what I mean by I didn't enjoy them, I mean, I did obviously love the outcome, but watching the game, through the whole time, most of the time I'm sitting there going, they're going to screw this up. The fix is in. They're going to give this to Milwaukee. Like, I just was unhappy watching the game. Like I was using profanity and yelling at my TV.
Well, yeah, of course.
And but not in the. I really didn't enjoy this series. I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm glad it came out the way that it did. But I just mean like
it wasn't an enjoyable viewing experience.
Yeah, it wasn't really like I kind of, like we said on the last show, like it's not watching that physicality just being allowed, right? Just put me in a mood.
It takes the fun out of it. I know what you're saying.
It did for me. And so
I don't know. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't say I agree that it wasn't fun. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe that's not what you're saying, but like it was difficult to watch because it didn't feel as though the game was played on the level in one part.
Right.
The second part is it was a slog, like, with the net, by comparison to the net series, which was just adulation for 4 games because the Celtics were kicking the teeth out of the hated Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving specifically. So by comparison, you also had that going on. And then also the physical nature of it, not that part of it, but the up and down of it. Like, I win this one, then you like rip my heart out the next game. Like it was peaks and valleys. Like it was really, and I don't think
it was daunting.
We haven't had a series like that. I think maybe like the Washington Wizards series of 17.
But that was fun. As frustrating as that was, there were elements of it that, I don't know, maybe I was in a different frame of mind.
I don't think you're wrong though. Like I know, I think I kind of know what you're saying. Like I kind of feel it feels like an achievement. Yeah. Let me put it this way. To me, it feels like an achievement at this point. Like getting through that team and going through that hard run, like it feels like the Celtics earned something. It felt like I was glad the Celtics beat the Nets. I knew that they were not who we thought they were. You know what I mean? At the start of the year.
You did. Yeah. You were we went into that series.
Yeah.
And you were like, you didn't say sweep, but you were thinking sweep.
Yeah.
Like you were not big on that team. I was like, I don't think my heart can take a loss to Kyrie Irving.
That's how that theory, did you?
Yeah, no. No, that was great. My heart is been rejoicing. It's full. Yeah. That was. Hold on a second. Let me just take that in. We just skipped on by that series because it happened so fast.
I know.
And we didn't get to enjoy it. And
we will. We're gonna always remember that one though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna stay with us.
And the way Kyrie just talked out of both sides of his mouth coming out of that and everything. And so I do want to talk a little bit about, how weird it is that Giannis is essentially this bully on the basketball court where the teachers and the principal never suspend him because he's the star football player, and he just keeps beating the crap out of these kids and taking their lunch money, and nobody like sticks, nobody. Well, we punched the bully in the mouth. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, but he's got dad jokes and he smiles, so you should like him.
Right, but see, that's weird. So then he loses, and he's like this like weird good sport about it. And I love those guys, and it's incongruent. His play on the court is incongruent with his demeanor off the court, which is probably part of the reason that they let him get away with what they let him get away with. It's like, because he is a nice guy off the court. So
and I think he is. Like, I think he's a solid dude. Like, I would love
totally
him to be here. Like, I would love, but the league's got to get a handle on that, right? Like, the league has got to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe like letting our one guy like just do whatever he wants to steamroll, and then not have the same turnabout fair play. Like, if you're gonna let him do that, then you should better let Jason Tatum try to step around Grayson Allen.
And that's the thing. That's
you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
dude.
You gotta. Turnabout's fair play.
I was thinking about this during Game 7 when I was disgruntled and the game had not, moved so favorably towards the Celtics. I was thinking to myself, I was like, what if the league, what if one of us fans went and took every single one of those plays where Giannis throws a shoulder and a player either goes down or doesn't go down, and we just listed the outcome of that, right? Like, it threw a shoulder and player doesn't, no call. Do
our own 2-minute report.
Yeah. Do our own 2-minute report, but for the entire series and just compile it and be like, seriously, what the F?
Yeah.
Cause I think if you actually did compile, all of those clips, it would be egregious. You'd sit there and look at it and go, what the hell? So having said, what we said about this series and how frustrating that is and how incongruent he is, I want to tie this over to Miami, because Miami is going to play filthy defense. They're going to be physical. It might be a little bit different. They're a little more rangy with their defense, and it's a little bit more on the perimeter, with Bam kind of shoring things up in the middle, but it's more switchy. Yeah. So it is going to be a different experience for us watching that series, but there's bad blood just as much, if not more bad blood than there was with Milwaukee. And yet I feel like because of that style of play thing that I'm going to end up enjoying this series a heck of a lot more. I just think I am. I don't think I'm going to be as stressed out. I don't think the Celtics are going to lose. I'm going Celtics in 7 on this one too. But I think even if they lose, I'll still enjoy the experience better.
I don't. I think I know what you're saying.
I think the basketball will be a little more fun to watch in general, but there's a lot of reasons for why I say that.
I think so. I mean, I think style of play plays a lot into it, right?
Yep, it does.
And Milwaukee had like one move, and it was a pretty friggin' effective move, which was give the ball to the best player in the league and let him go through everybody.
Right.
And it worked pretty good. It really did. And he didn't have enough help to offset that. That's not going to happen in this series. I mean, Bam will do whatever, he'll do some of that. We saw him, in the bubble playoffs, but it's going to be Jimmy Butler. It's going to be Hero. It's going to be Max Strus. It's, PJ Tucker. It's going to be a lot of guys. It's going to be a lot more. It's going to be more like what the Celtics do than what Milwaukee was doing.
Right.
But Jason Tatum,
we could get beat at our own game. Absolutely the best.
Arguably Jaylen Brown could be the second best. It's possible.
He really, he's a little streaky, but he does a great job coming off of losses and making making a
Jalen?
statement. Yeah, and making a statement in the next game.
He's good at making the energy shift.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny that that's like his thing, but like, let's be honest. There are times when
somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
He's kind of that guy.
Yeah,
he really is. It's kind of like he sees it and he's like, okay, I think that's kind of why he and Smart kind of get along so well, because I get the feeling that just like they have a feeling and they're just like, okay. The difference is that Smart's manifests itself, I think, in playmaking. Honestly, like I think he does.
It is
like,
now. It is now. It wasn't in the past, but it is now.
But Jalen's is okay. I gotta get a bucket. Like that's his thing. I'm gonna put my head down. If I go to the rim, and honestly, that was one thing that I thought the Celtics probably didn't do enough of, is kind of turn on Jaylen Brown to go to the rim and make somebody look stupid, because I think they needed.
I don't think they liked the matchup. I think they just, with Lopez in the paint, and he did run into some trouble trying to get in there and finish with Lopez.
Yeah.
And if you're in a series where you know that you're not getting the contact fouls because they're letting you play physical, I think strategically that they probably shied away from that.
Was that game 4? Was it game? No, it was game.
What part? I mean,
game 3. No, it was game 3 where he gets fouled going to the rim, no call, goes back the other way. I think it was game 3. Look, all I'm saying, I think that the Celtics are in a. If we're gonna go all the way into the Miami thing right now, like just to set the stage before we kind of go big, kind of detailed on this. Like Miami, there's bad blood there.
Oh,
there's bad blood from the fans. There's bad blood from the players. I think the Celtics feel as though they had a chance in 20 and they didn't rise to the challenge. And I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart are going to carry that with them into this. I really think they're going to be motivated. There's going to be a special level of motivation in this series.
They did have a chance, though. They did have a chance.
They screwed themselves. The moment that OG Anunoby hit that 3 in game 3 against Toronto. That
everything started slipping.
Everything started to fall down from that point, and they never could get it back in that Miami series.
God,
they had a chance to win a series.
They got to that point, too.
They had a chance to win a championship that year. They really did.
They did.
And they blew it.
You're right. He hit that corner 3 and it was over.
And they won. Of course, they beat Toronto in 7, but they should have beat them in 4 or 5. And then they're healthy and rested, and then they're playing Miami. But the thing about Miami, and this is what's going to go into what's going to happen in this series, is that Miami makes you think, and they make you have, mentally, you got to think about what they're giving you and how you're going to beat it. They're going to give you a different look defensively every single time. And in 2 years ago, Jason Tatum wasn't at the place where he could break that.
Yeah, Milwaukee's
Jason Tatum
well
in 2022 can find that and pick it apart. That's going to be the difference between 2020 and 2022.
Yeah, but the issue, so Milwaukee is really well coached.
It's similar, but it's very similar.
But their players are a little like one-dimensional in terms of flexibility.
Right.
And all I'm getting at is Miami's got a lot more looks to work with because they've got a lot more diversity in their roster.
Somewhat, but look at a guy like Max Strus. Look at a guy like Duncan Robinson. Look at Tyler Hero.
Yeah, I got you. They're the Connaughtons. They're
they're more one-dimensional than I think people think they are, because I think their scheme is good and they play really well within it. I think they're better. You're right. They're better. They're a better core together because you've got a Jimmy Butler and you've got a Bam Adebayo and you've got options. But I think.
But just as simple as
same
Bam
sort of
versus
concept
Brook Lopez.
For the Celtics.
Yeah, but Bam versus Brook Lopez is
but there's no Giannis.
Yeah, I get it. There's no Giannis, but that's a major difference in just how the whole thing looks schematically.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying they're similar, but what I'm saying to you is
who's similar? You're saying
Miami
Milwaukee.
And Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm saying they're similar in that it's not like you're playing Brooklyn where it's pick and roll and then they're going to try to send somebody, but it's going to be really ham-fisted and it's going to be easy. Like, you're going to have to think to beat what Miami's going to try to do to you.
Right.
And they couldn't think their way around it in 2020 because they just weren't ready. 2022, I think this is okay. Maybe this is disrespectful, but if this series was done in 5, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I think the Celtics are that much better.
I would. The NBA doesn't. Yeah, but the NBA doesn't want that. So.
They don't want it. But if Boston wins in 6, which is my pick, then that's where I'm at. Because I think they are going to lose a couple because, like, game 1 is going to be tough for them. You know, Smart's still hurting. They have a couple days less of rest.
Yeah.
You know,
what's up with
Rob?
5 days off in the middle of the Milwaukee series? And then we got a 1 day off after a brutal game 7 and we got to roll right into it. Like, I don't even understand. What's the thinking in that? Dude, like, seriously.
I don't understand. I know they
because the other series wasn't over. I mean, the Mavs had to take the Suns to game 7 after the Celtics finished their game. So there was no lining up of it that would have caused that. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's that thing where they have to try to get all of the games in prime time. So if they're, you've got, and especially in the first round, like you've got 8 series going on. Like, I think, you can only have two or three a night basically. And so eventually you can't get, it's a little off, but still that's not a great explanation at this time, and maybe because it's so late in the series. I don't know, but it's it's not great for Al Horford. Al Horford is, he definitely looked like he was a little bit gassed after some long, but he's not going to have to work as hard in this series.
No, he's not.
He's got to. Hopefully they can lighten up his load here in the first couple games and try to get his wind back. Which I'm not saying he was bad, but he just wasn't quite as impactful as he was earlier in the Milwaukee series.
I mean, look, he took a beating. The whole team did.
Right. I think the Celtics, like, going back to Miami, like, just to set the stage for this thing, like, this Miami Heat thing goes back a bit, right? So we got the 2020 bubble where the Celtics really should have beaten them. They should have beaten them. They were the better team. Jimmy Butler played out of his ass, and it was crazy. But the Celtics were hurt. They didn't have Hayward. Kemba, we now find out, was basically playing on one knee. It was not great. Mentally, the young guys weren't ready to be there. Rewind. How about 2012? Celtics had that series, win game 5 in Miami, right? Let's remember this. LeBron in 2010 is kicked out of Cleveland basically by the Boston Celtics. Ended, mentally broken, okay? Yeah. Takes his talents to South Beach. 2011
we're talking 10 years ago.
Right. This is we're sending it all the way back. We're going all the way back to a decade ago. I mean, you can argue even more than that. We can talk. I guess it's 11 years, right? If we're talking about, we're talking about what's going on back in that playoff. But you talk about how that.
You're talking about Rondo's arm bend back year.
I'm talking about Rondo's arm bend back year. I'm talking about when Dwayne that punk. And I'm saying he's a punk because that was some
punk ass.
Yes, it was. That was some dirty shit going on.
It
was awful. I mean, I don't think I can even appreciate. Twitter was really in its nascent stages at that point.
Yeah, we had just gotten started.
Yep. Right. But we were but the Celtics were doing they're playing their ass off through games 1 and 2. They lose two games on the road. Game 2, they are I think it was game 2. They're coming back, and then Rondo gets his arm bent backwards, right? people go freaking out. I was losing my mind. Dwayne Wayne is just being a complete punk. Celtics lose 4-1. So they get healthy, sort of. You still got old Ray Allen, old Kevin Garnett, old Paul Pierce, but Rajon Rondo is basically one of the best players. I mean, he really doing great. Win game 5 in that 2012 season. They got Brandon Bass. Okay. Things are happening.
He was fun.
LeBron loses, just goes nuclear in game 6.
Yeah.
I won't talk about the officials because there's a whole bunch of reasons Celtics should have ended it in game 5, but okay. They go to Miami. Miami wins. So again, hate, discontent, 2 seasons, 11 and 12, the Heatles. They fast forward to 2020. Now we're 0-3 in the last 3. Celtics got to get one here. Celtics are the better team.
They're due.
It's time.
Yep, they're due.
It's time.
Time to give them their due.
Absolutely.
All right, so who gives them the biggest fits? And as you look ahead to this series, who's going to give the Celtics the biggest problems?
It's got to be. Part of me wants to say Rob. Rob's matchup with Bam, because
that's where I'm at.
If Rob's healthy, he can keep Bam in check. But so why don't you explain that, and then I'll tell you who I think it is. Why do you think it's Rob? Why do you think it's Bam?
I just think he's strong and as athletic, and I think that just creates a major problem for them. Bam can keep up with Rob athletically, and I think it was tough for Horford to take on Giannis, but Giannis was mostly just like kind of doing his back to the basket aggressor thing. And I think Bam's got the athleticism to keep Horford running around. And I think he's got the strength to really impact Rob Williams. I just don't, and Tice isn't the answer, obviously, not against Bam. So I just feel like
we saw that nightmare once already.
Yeah. I just don't think I think that matchup is so way more unfavorable than we even realize.
He was the one thing I'd say about Bam is, and this is just kind of going off of what we've seen since in that series and since, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of times when he's kind of gone up to that level where he was in that 2020 playoff. Like, honestly, I kind of thought that was his ascension to another plane of player.
Yep.
And he really
stayed there.
Didn't kind of keep going. Yeah. And I don't know if it's injuries or what that's been, but he really hasn't become kind of that kind of supernova player that, a guy who would be on.
Yeah, he can't take over a series is what
not
you're
at
saying.
all. I don't think so. Yeah. I think he can be a real big problem for the Celtics. And I think he can be like the guy who really makes things go for Miami. But in terms of, but
I like the Butler Brown matchup just because they worked out together. Brown almost got traded for Butler. Everybody talked about how their games were similar. There's so much to like about how those two, play off of each other. But I think that's where Tatum, you kind of get the edge on offense in that, then you're like, okay, if you can compare those two guys, even if Butler's a little better than Brown, Tatum just kind of stratospheres them offensively. But yeah, I like that one. And you could say that Jimmy gives them the most trouble, but I think they're going to scheme against Jimmy.
Yeah.
I think Miami's got to beat him with the Duncan Robinsons and the same ones that beat him, Tyler Hero, the same ones that beat him in that series in the bubble.
And Hero's the guy. Yeah, Hero's the guy for me. And the reason why is not because of anything that's rational. It's completely irrational.
Oh, yeah. Because he has.
Because he has. Yeah. And I went to the game when the Celtics of Miami came to Boston at the end of March. And I went to that game. And it's just they play differently when he's on the floor with them. They're bringing him off the bench, but he's clearly one of their 2 or 3 most important players. because he can score from anywhere. And he, for whatever reason, when he plays Boston, he is lighting it up. I mean, you can put anybody on him. You want to put Smart on him. You want to put Tatum on him. You want to put Brown on him. Like, he just has a confidence when he plays Boston right now. He's comfortable. He's too comfortable. And they need to figure something out to keep him quiet. They keep him quiet, I think they win the series pretty easily. And that's not to say he's going to score. He's a reliable 30-point scorer. Anything but. I would say he's not that type of player, but he is reliably a thorn in the side.
If he gets the big plays,
it might, right. It may not be 30
if he gets
points,
the big play,
but it might be
just
15,
might be the play.
Right. It may be 15 in a 5-minute stretch. It might be, he gets off at the right times for Miami. And when they play with such an edge and such focus, that 15 points in that 5-minute stretch might be all they need to carry him over the line. Yeah. And that's what worries me about the Tyler Hero, because he's only just a moment from going off. It's very much, kind of Vinny Microwave Johnson era stuff. Like, he can just start, like, boom, making everything. So the Celtics need to find a way. You can throw a lot of guys at him, and maybe that's one way to go. Whether you throw a Derek White in that mix, you want to throw, Peyton Pritchard. I don't know. I mean, just guys, different looks, guys who will make him work. And I think more importantly, they're going to make him work on the defensive end. I really feel like the Celtics have not done a good enough job of making him.
So do they put Smart on him? Is that the guy that we need to kind of like, mix this up?
It's tough because he's, he doesn't start, right? So he's probably coming in.
He's catching you when you have the Peyton Pritchards out there or the Derek Whites.
So he gets going, Now, Smart is usually in longer, right? Pritchard is usually taking Smart's place at the end of the first, beginning of the second. Like, so it could be that's, you're right. It could be, you start Smart on him, and then you kind of go with Derek White on him. I'm not sure. And I'm not really sure what's going on with Duncan Robinson either. He wasn't playing really for much of the first series. He got dusted off a little bit against Philly. But we know what he can do, and we know he can shoot it. But we also know the Celtics are going to make them pay if they play Duncan Robinson a lot. They've gone to it. They had gone to it earlier in Brown and Tatum's careers, and it hadn't worked quite as effective as it does this year. This year, it feels like they've got more tools, more strength, more chutzpah to throw at old Dunk Rob. So I think that's a problem for them. What do you think? What do you think that we will be most frustrated by from the Celtics?
Like what they do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're still going to get, because Bam is patrolling the middle, they're still going to get stuck out on the perimeter. And it's going to be ball movement. And because of the switchability, there's more legitimate congestion on the perimeter as they're trying to move that ball, not grabbing and clutching and flinging around like we saw, especially earlier in the Milwaukee series. Like, the defenders on Milwaukee are legitimately capable of doing all of those things in a legal manner. And so I think that's going to cause the Celtics the most problems. We're going to see, like, the lack of ball movement, the ISO game, and we're going to want to just bang our heads off a wall about it.
If they don't move the ball against Miami,
they're dead.
They're cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's funny. You and I were thinking the same thing. Neither one of us, like, just so the audience knows, it's not like we get together before.
There is no pre-show.
There's no pre.
The pre-show is don't say that because we're gonna save it.
Yeah, we save it. The pre-show is wait, hold on. Did you just start talking about something related to the Celtics? Stop.
Hold on.
But it's interesting that we both would think that. Is it just because Miami has such a switchable defense that you say that, or is it because that's their tendency? Is it more because Bam is in the middle and you know that when there's a good big in the middle, that they tend to shy away from getting inside.
Yes.
Yes to both.
Yes to everything. I think they also have a tendency to get lazy sometimes and think, well, I can beat this guy. I think rather than their trust isn't so
they go
far
for the
on
matchup, and then they think that the matchup without doing anything still means you win the matchup.
Right. Because like if I'm Jason Tatum and I've got, let's say, Tyler Hero on me, like, yeah, I should make him work and I should make him pay. But if he's just brought the ball up, or I've been holding the ball for the last 5 seconds, it's probably not the right shot. You know what I mean? It's that click, that kind of clock in their head. And this is why the Derek Whites of the world work. It's because they force them to kind of change their clock, their timing, And so then when Derek's doing it, oh, okay, now I got half a second. What do I do? Nope, now I got to move it. Boom, now I'm cutting. Like it establishes those things, reminds them. But when you switch, oh, okay, now I got a guy on me, and I could just kind of go, and then I think just psychologically, it's kind of, that's why I'm saying it's like the Milwaukee series. Milwaukee wants to lull you into taking threes, right? They want to lull you into, they're gonna overload around the perimeter on the rim. And especially early in the series, they were really putting a lot of pressure on the 3-point arc, and the Celtics didn't know what to do. They're like forcing threes because we're open now on the 3. It's like, well, that's not really what you want. In, out, you want kickouts, you want get them in rotation, and they weren't getting them in rotation.
Do you think Derek White has earned more time in this series just based on the fact that he does those things?
I think so. I think they're going to need him a lot.
That's what I think. Yeah. I think so. Here's how they can keep the ball movement going. They saw that small lineup does work. And the only reason they didn't go back to it in game 7 was because Grant started doing what he was supposed to do. But there was a really good chance that if that continued, that they were going to abandon Grant for the rest of that game. Not, not abandon him like he wouldn't see the floor, but essentially give up on him the rest of the game.
Yep.
And just go for Derek White almost exclusively. So.
And I think that's where Ime deserves so much credit, because he does stick with things and they work out. They work out because they put the time in. I mean, that's part of this, is like, these players have earned what Ime has given them. They have deserved the trust that he's given them. So I'm all for giving credit to Ime for his decisions and sticking with guys and all that. But Grant Williams is the one in the gym working on his shot and slimming down and do it. Like, he's the same dude he was last year when he couldn't get out of it. He was fouling everybody and just a complete mess. But he spent that time this summer and he's earned that, and that's why, like, I know Ime deserves a lot of credit and I want to give it to him, but that's why I'm just so impressed with what the players, Tatum, Brown, Smart, Rob, like, those guys have made the commitment that they have brought this team so far. And yes, you need a coach who puts that together and stitches it, but not enough credit, I think, goes to those players. Honestly, I'm just over the moon with those guys. It's really impressive.
Yeah, we talked a lot about last year, and we're going to end on this because I know we're kind of getting there. But last year we talked about, like, Peyton Pritchard did awesome. He got some playing time. And then to start this year, we had this like congested rotation. We had some guys like Josh Richardson, and, there was the whole conversation about, does Danny Ainge deserve any credit once this team started, turning around? It's like, of course he does, because he drafted these players. But the truth is all of a sudden, like, players like Peyton Pritchard, even Grant Williams, like, he looked good this season, but there was just a log jam in the whole rotation, and they couldn't quite. And then as soon as Brad just flipped Josh Richardson and traded away. Why can't I? Schroeder. That all of a sudden just changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had a role, a defined role. They had a certain piece or part that they play that's different than somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, I think, to your point about the players that you're proud of, it's these role guys just kind of going in and knowing their role and doing it well. And Ime's like, yeah, you know, I need a guy to space the floor, to kind of set things up on the perimeter. And they're kind of figuring out Grant. So I'm going to go to Peyton Pritchard right now. And boy, does that kid have the balls or what?
That guy's a game. I tweeted that. And he is a game 7 player. Yeah. Like, honestly, like you said, like Derek White didn't really have it. He wasn't playing great yesterday, but Pritchard, he wanted that stage. He wanted to be out there. He wanted to fight for every loose ball.
The rebounds. The rebounds.
He's a great offensive
flying
rebounder.
In and it's amazing. He's smart. He's already small to begin with. And then he just comes, like you said, flying in, and he gets those rebounds. He's gritty. He's smart and gritty.
He's a guy you want on the floor in Game 7. You can see why Danny Ainge was like, I want that guy.
Yep.
And I want to give Danny Ainge his flowers too, because look, and to what you were just saying, I was so over the this guy sucks routine. Oh, Grant Williams sucks. Peyton Pritchard sucks. What's Danny ever done? Blah, 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 blah. You know,
yeah,
like
seriously,
situation matters. What your players around you doing matter. Like, those things don't happen in a vacuum. You need confidence. Pritchard was playing, especially earlier in the year, like he'd go, you know, a week or so between playing. You can't be a good shooter and like go a week between times on the floor. Like, that just doesn't work. That's not nobody could do that. Nobody could do their job. When you come back from vacation, are you ever like the best worker you've ever been? No, because you're like out of sync and figure out what the hell's going on and all that. Like, why do people think that's not the same? You're out of it. Like you well, as a professional. Well, I'm a professional too. And when I go on vacation, I took one day off on Friday. I came back to work today and it was like a nightmare. Like, nothing was working right. My email's blowing up, you know, voicemails. Like, It's the same deal for a shooter. Like, you got to have reps. You got to be in the flow. You know, how many times do you see a game where, you know, that kind of like James, that kind of Tatum situation, he holds the ball for 5 seconds and kind of shoots it. You never feel good about that shot going in, even if it is Jason Tatum. But the ball gets driven in, kick out, another secondary drive, kick out, and then Jason Tatum catches it. Tell me anybody on earth who you don't feel 1,000% better that he's going to hit that shot, right? Like, that's basketball. Like, that's the flow of the game. If you don't have that going a week between playing, you can't. So those guys needed that flow. They needed to feel the good stuff, you know, feel the kind of the basketball gods blessing them a little bit. And they got over the hump, thankfully, you know, but it took some tough times. And it took guys like Tatum and Brown and Smart and Rob Williams playing the right way consistently and setting that tone, and then everyone kind of molded into those pieces. One thing we should talk about is Rob Williams. What sort of role Rob Williams has in this series? I think Rob Williams could be absolutely huge in this series. If he's healthy enough and he's not on the injury report any longer, no minutes restrictions on Rob Williams.
Yeah.
But hasn't played really a lot of minutes in about 2 months. So I don't know what you can expect from him.
Yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little rough because he's just out of the flow.
But if he can find a way to get in the flow, like he had a great first quarter in game 1, you know, if he can somehow get in the flow, he is the counterbalance to what Bam Adebayo can do. He can take the aerial game out of the whole situation and really minimize a lot of what Bam can do kind of above the rim, which is really important. And also they have some non-shooters out there, so
they're going to need
you
help
can go back to defending
anyway.
him the way
Yeah.
that the Celtics want to play.
Bam will still space it out, so you need that help defender in this series, like the athletic help defender that can still.
I think he can do it. I would bet if he's healthy enough, and that's what we don't know, by game 4, he will be a rotation player playing 20 plus minutes a night. That's my prediction.
I hope so, because then it's just the next step is, hopefully the finals, and you want everybody healthy for the finals.
Dallas,
it would also take a little bit of the responsibility off of Horford.
And he's going to need
let's rest him up. Yeah, exactly.
He needs it right now.
He needs a little bit of a breather. He just basically took on Giannis for 7 games. So
yeah, he needs, if Rob Williams could play 20 minutes Monday night or Tuesday night in game 1, that would be a huge role.
Yeah.
And that would be so important for these Celtics in trying to get a win in these first couple games in Miami.
All right. Well, we're recording this on Monday. We'll probably squeak it out tonight, but you might not be listening to it until just before the game. Game 1.
You should.
Game 1 is less than 24 hours away for me and John, and so it's less than 24 hours for you as well. I hope you enjoyed the Milwaukee series.
Like Justin did.
I was just going to say like I didn't. But I am looking forward to this series. Ironically, I'm going to be in Florida all week, just not Miami. I'll be in the Tampa area. So I'm probably going to watch the game in my hotel room.
Sorry. Tampa Bay,
Tampa Bay.
Oh, that's stupid. Tom Brady.
That's horrible.
It is. That's horrible.
I just pretend that's not real.
It's a good idea. He retired 3 years ago. I don't know if you knew that. It happened.
Oh, okay.
After he won the Super Bowl, he retired. This is an impossible.
Well, he retired this year too, so
that's true. Yeah. Good point.
All right. Well, enjoy the series. I really hope we're going to the finals. And if I had to choose, I actually would want it against the Mavericks. Phoenix was my number 1. And I know we talked about Golden State, but I'd love the Mavs. I'd love a little Donka and Tatum and, those kinds of things, those kinds of matchups for the future. I think is fun. And
I feel like we've been circling at Golden State Celtics.
Yeah, since they were super young and they were beating them, they'd come into Boston and they'd get beaten. It's like, remember that the one year that they had all the wins, we were one of their losses.
Yeah, that's right. The first loss.
Yeah, the first loss. That's right.
And then they went and lost again the next night in Minnesota. But I think that would be a really fun series. I think both of them would be really fun. I think if it's Dallas, you end up on the Tatum, Doncic.
Yeah,
this is that's where the league is going. Type, they're teeing that up.
Tatum, Donkey,
Ja, Donkey. But I think, to me, the kind of if this is the settling family business, playoff run, Golden State, the missing finals, visit that we never got, that's the one that we want. And I feel good about, because I feel like the Celtics play Golden State really, really well.
Yeah,
I think it's a good fit. So.
It'll be a heck of a finals, that's for sure. All right,
let's hope we get there.
Let's hope we get. Yeah, I know. I'm definitely not counting my eggs.
No eggs counting.
Or the chickens or whatever before they hatch. And I'm counting the eggs. We have the eggs.
Eggs are good. Yeah.
Don't know how many chickens.
Protein.
That's going to do it for this week's show. But as a reminder, you can follow Celtic Stuff Live on Twitter at CSL_tweet live. You can follow John at CSL_Duke. You can follow me at CSL_Justin. As always, a heartfelt thank you to everybody for tuning in. And we'd love a rating and a review, and a share and a like. Share. Be active on social media.
Yeah.
Tell us you love us. I've gotten some really cool Twitter feedback lately too, including a Bucks fan who actually likes our show, which was a Giannis Bucks fan. Yep, absolutely. Challenged us a little bit on the foul thing, but I was like, I can't believe a Bucks fan is or a Giannis fan is listening to our show. And he
I
was like,
know.
give yourself some credit. You guys have great conversations on your show.
Okay.
Very flattering. I'm going to take that. I can see why he's a Giannis fan. He's just like Giannis off the court. Very,
very nice, smiling all the
very
time.
nice, cordial. No,
Got
seriously.
the dad jokes.
I love it. I love it. It was cool. It was not the response I was expecting. You know what Twitter's like. So it was a nice little like show up on my Twitter feed for sure. Anyway, on behalf of Nick Gelso, my co-host, or I should say the CLNS founder, Nick Gelso, my co-host, John Duke, I'm Justin Poulin. Thanks for listening to this episode of Celtic Stuff Live.